Apparently that was the end of my music. I have one more minute left, but I'll come on and say hi, guys. How's it going? I'm glad to see you all here today. Hello. Hello. So I'm going to come on in. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit early. My music was shorter than I realized it was. It got cut off. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm here. It's Thursday. It's live stream night and ready to go.
Awesome. It's great to see you.
You too. So those of you who don't know, this is Chris, and I'm gonna butcher your last name. Is it Sirard?
No, that's right. Yeah.
Is it really? Okay, yay. Okay. So this is Chris Sirard, and I've heard of you before we actually like met and talked, but I technically met you through working with the color guard educators. I just called it organization, color guard educators organization that you've been working on. And but like, tell me about you. Like, how did you get into color guard like years ago?
Well, I started when I was 11. My sister she was 4 years older. She was the color guard captain at my high school. And when I hit seventh grade, they let me join, I guess because I was her sister. I don't know. And yeah, so I did that all through high school and in college. And yeah, I've been doing it a long time, but then I stopped for quite a long time, like almost 2 decades, I think. When I went to music school and I became a music teacher and I had babies and I did that sort of thing. So, I had a couple decades in and a decade out, and then I got pulled back in when I moved back to Massachusetts.
So you don't look old enough to have had a couple decades off. I'm just saying.
That's nice. Thanks, Jackie.
So you marched. So you marched when you were in high school, and you went. Well, you did it in college too, right?
Yeah, UMass. Yeah.
At UMass, and now you've gone back and you're the director of UMass.
Yes. Yeah.
Have you ever? What's it like teaching college color guard?
I love teaching college color guard because they're adults, and it's about the spirit, right? We don't have a competitive unit. There's lots of colleges that do, but at the moment, UMass doesn't. We did when I was a student, but we don't right now. So it's really about and getting together with a bunch of people that love the same thing that you love, writing some fun twirls from them to do, being part of the spirit, area of the university. And then, the UMass marching band is just a really fun band. I also taught at the University of South Carolina when I was there, also a fun band. Yeah, Gamecocks, but it was like South Carolina, big time football. It was very different than UMass, which is not big time football right now. So I love teaching college. It's great.
That's awesome. I just kind of like harken back to my days at Mizzou, and like it's funny, like those kids coming from a competitive program and like having to learn that culture shift of college color guard isn't always about like competition and winning awards and stuff. It's about getting hype for your school, and like you said, that spirit aspect. That's a completely different culture.
It really is, and we walk that tightrope every year because we do have some kids who come in who are very talented or marched world class ensembles, and we have people who come in who've never touched a flag before. UMass band is for everyone, so if you want to come in and you are going to commit the time to it, we'll teach you how to do it. So yeah, we walk that line. It's a lot of like A line, B line stuff. We write stuff that's challenging for the people that can handle it. And then we write stuff that we can set up the new people for success.
Honestly, that's awesome. It's great that you have the flexibility to be able to cater to both sort of ability levels, you know, when you have people who have a high commitment. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
So, you know, so like I mentioned before, we met through this whole Color Guard educator organization that we've been working on. And this is something that I've kind of seen the need for lots of different things in the Color Guard community, you know, especially with like I don't want to say my background in dance, because my background's not really in dance. My background is in Color Guard, but then I kind of like got into the dance world for a while, and then, you know, started trying to bring some of that back to Color Guard. I actually have a former student now who is really getting into the gymnastics world and kind of seeing how all that works and seeing where we can apply some of those principles into the Color Guard world as well. So what was it that triggered your idea that we needed something like this organization?
Well, it came from coming back here to the Northeast. So I grew up here and moved to South Carolina, and you know, I've lived kind of all over. And when I came back here, Color Guard doesn't seem to be as popular an activity as it was when I was here. You know, the Eastern Mass Color Guards, there were a lot of them, St. Anne's, St. Pat's, they're just not around anymore, unfortunately. And it has to do with a lot with money, of course, funding and the churches and stuff. So what I do at UMass, one of the things that I want to try to do is help local programs like the smaller programs in the state who can't afford to hire an instructor or can't find an instructor. I'm getting requests every year. Hey, do you have somebody from UMass who can come out and help me? And God bless my students, they try, but you know, when you're just getting out of school, you don't have time, you know. So we haven't built up that nice list of people that are available. So I thought, well, first thing I did was go to my state music educator conference, because I'm also a music teacher. I teach elementary general music. And I went to the music educator conference and did a session for band directors to say, you know, hey, let me answer all your questions. What do you need to know about getting someone for Color Guard? And there was some good interest in that. And people were asking, you know, we would really like to be able to come to a camp. Now, I had gone to CGIA, which is Color Guard instructors. Yeah, it's so cool. The academy at the Music for All, which was a big deal because that's pretty far, and it's an investment, but it's professional development, and all professional teachers have to do professional development. So I went to that thing so I could learn more, because I'd been out of the game for a while and I wanted to up my skills.
Oh no. I'm not sure if I've lost connection or if you've lost connection. Oh, there we go. No, it's okay. You're back. Yay.
There's bad connection there for a little bit.
That's okay.
So I went to CGIA and I learned stuff there. And I troll the internet too. And I found Spintronics and all the things, because I was gone when like 45s came in. I'm like, I don't know how to toss a 45. I need a tutorial.
Be a basic, yeah.
Yeah. So I saw your tutorial and I was like, this is what we need, but we need to do it in person, and maybe people can't travel all the way to Indiana to do it. So I wanted to build one of my own for local people. And so I went on a retreat. I went away after the busy semester, and luckily I have friends that work with the Boston Crusaders. So I was like, can I just come and watch a rehearsal? They said, sure. So I just had a retreat. I had no responsibilities. I just around friendly people and watching, their excellence and the things they do. And I thought to myself, you know what? We don't have a support system. We don't have the network for people who maybe don't have the skill level as the people that are working in world-class organizations have. Like, they're the innovators, right? They're making the art and they're pushing that envelope. And I think the envelope is like wow, is it getting pushed right now in
Oh
this
yeah.
past 5 years or so? So they're doing that. And where is the support? And then there maybe, WGI is supportive too. They have an education
Right.
arm, and they, are very good at helping competitive units understand the judging and understand design and layering and things like that. But where's the support for all of those color guards who don't compete or are a different style of color guard, that isn't the same as, say, core style or WGI? So, like, and where's the support for getting paid what we're worth, right?
Yes.
So getting paid what we're worth, getting, having stability, helping people get better at teaching, thinking about things like diversity and inclusion and member safety and all of that stuff that you see in like other teacher organizations or professional organizations. So I said, but this was about a year ago, and I was just kind of ruminating about it, and like, well, let me just ask a few friends what they think, and it kind of chugged along, and that's when I reached out to you. I'm like, hi, you don't know me, but I really love the things that you're doing with Spintronics, and what do you think? And then this spring, when the world went upside down and we can't teach live anymore and we can't pour out our creativity into putting out a show, I thought maybe, and the things that blew up with Black Lives Matter and all of this
Yes.
stuff, and the stuff that was coming out with, instructors who are just doing things they should not be doing, and,
That has been
not,
so publicized lately. It hurts my heart.
it really does. But I like that it's, like, it's finally, the curtain is opening on this kind of stuff, right? So
Yes.
these people who have been either physically or verbally abusing performers for decades, it's time for that to stop. So I thought, well, maybe this is the time to just sort of get this thing up and running. So we had some meetings over the summer, and there seems to be some interest.
Absolutely, there seems to be interest. I can't remember how many people were you organizing into these meetings? Because I know there was one in particular I went to that was like, we had like 30 people in this meeting, and I was not expecting that many.
Yeah, I think that was the pedagogy meeting. That's the one
Yeah.
that people are most interested in. So for people that, didn't hear about those meetings, the first meeting was, hey, this is my idea. Who else is interested? And I think that if we do this, we should divide it into certain committees or categories so that we can study these things. And pedagogy, or figuring out how to help teachers teach better, was the most, that I think the most, and diversity and inclusion was the other most popular one. So there was a little bit, there was talk about, certification. Can we figure out how to get a certification for color guard? Can we do that on our own? I think that there's already great stuff out there, like the camps that Spintronics does, and the camp and CGIA, and like Peter Gomez is doing stuff out on the West Coast, and there's already stuff, and the stuff that Courtney Mills does online with her webinars.
Mm-hmm.
There's already really good content out there. But I think this organization could help people, first of all, find it, make
Yes.
it sequential, right? Because there's a lot of, you can grab a class with anybody right now, and I love that. There's so many great choreographers and educators out
But
there
if you're
putting the
coming
content.
into the color guard world, and you're, let's say you were like a dance instructor or something, which I've had to do this with dance instructors before, and just say, hey, I need you to come teach this color guard, and you don't know where to start with it
Mhm,
even. It's
mhm.
it's crazy just because everything's everywhere.
Exactly. So I think that, that's one thing we can help do, is set a sequential curriculum, basically, as in, put it into teacher words, right? So
Yeah.
here you start with your beginners, and what are the things you do, and how do you help them get to this level, and some of it has to do with member safety as well, as
Mm-hmm.
what kind of tricks are they attempting, and do they have the foundations to make sure that they're safe, you know, before they're attempting something,
Well,
those sorts of
physically,
things.
and then also like the mentality of like some people have been under guard instructors who were abusive and they didn't even realize like they were getting abused by definition, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and so they'll turn around and use those same sort of teaching tactics on the next generation of performers,
Yes.
not intending to be hurtful, just thinking,
Yes.
well, that's how I'm supposed to teach. And that sort of thing I think is something that we need to pull out and open and just learn that that's not how you do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's old school. I mean, I grew up, that's what it was when I was 11, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it was it was rough. It could be rough, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you had to toughen up, you know, and I was also, you
Right.
know, it was Easter Mass, so it was like Boston tough. But and it's effective. It can be effective, but it's not necessarily appropriate,
Right.
developmentally appropriate. So if we can help people, you know, you can get your students there by saying things differently. You know, and
Mm-hmm.
think of, first of all, do you understand how you got there? Because there are some people that are just natural, they're naturally talented and they pick things up like
Right.
that and they can do amazing things. But because they were there, it came to them naturally, they didn't have the scaffolding to get
Right.
themselves there. So they don't necessarily know how to help somebody else get there. So these are things that we could help, I think.
Absolutely. That would bridge so many gaps with all that
Mm-hmm.
sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's so
Yeah.
good.
So,
If you guys have any questions, just as a pause for a second, if you guys have questions, if you want to drop them in the question box is open. So if you're wondering about this whole process or where we're planning on going with it, you know, drop them in the box because we're going to keep talking. But yeah, let us know what you guys are thinking and what you're wanting to know about too. So yeah, so speaking of where we're going with it, where are we going with it? So what kind of steps are we going to take next?
okay, so after the meetings, um, the next steps are creating an organization. So it's a 501c3 nonprofit organization that we would recruit members into, and there would be a membership fee. And then the benefits that we can get out of it are still to be determined, but basically, things like you know, help with this learning how to teach. I mean, that's the main thing. Training in diversity and inclusion, training in member safety, like utilizing Sport Safe or Safe Sport. I said it backwards.
Yeah, safe sport.
Safe Sport, and so that we can make sure that all the members are safe from this. Um, so it's building that, and you know, things like advocacy. If we build an
Yes.
advocacy wing that advocates for fair pay, advocates for fair inclusion in design, and basically how the whole thing runs. You know, I've worked for band directors who have been amazing at being inclusive with the full package. What do you want to do with the color guard? How are we going to get them in? And I've worked for band directors who aren't necessarily thinking about that. You know,
They're just
they,
like, oh, just put the guard in an arc in the back behind the band. That's fine. Let them spin
yeah,
back there.
they don't, maybe don't understand full ensemble, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
musicians first, and which is fine. That's what a band director should be. Musicians
Mm-hmm.
first, and maybe that they don't consider that. Um, so advocacy in that as well, and oh, and research. I mean, this one's a big one for me as someone who works in a university. I want to get some published research out there. There's so little that is specific to color guard. There was April Perrine. Is that how you say her last name? Do you know,
I'm
Jackie?
not sure.
P
I'm so bad at pronouncing names.
Perrine. Yeah,
Yep, yep.
we've
I know
all
who you're
met
talking
each other
about.
online, but not actually in person. She did a master's thesis on color guard pedagogy, and then just recently somebody did a self-published book. Gosh, what is his name? I'm not gonna find it,
I
but
haven't
it
heard about
was.
this one.
Oh shoot! You know what? I can find it on my computer. if somebody asks a question, I'll go grab it. But
Okay.
he was a dance major, and at a Florida college. I'm going to say, I don't want to say the wrong one, and was writing about movement and color
Mm-hmm.
guard. So there's a little bit out there. It was an honors thesis, so it wasn't a master's thesis.
Okay.
He was an undergraduate writing his honors thesis, but it's something. So I
Yeah.
think that we should have published research on education, pedagogy. We should have published research on biomechanics, how we do what we do with equipment, just like runners and golfers and
The
baseball players.
physics of it. This is actually a really big thing that when I talked to Robert Jordan last, like, wait, I haven't been able to get him on the live yet. Our schedules haven't worked out, but we talked about, like, it's really the physics of color guard, and a lot of times people get really like specific about different details of how their technique works, but really it's not so much, oh, your hands in the wrong spot for our technique. It's like, well, if you want it to go around this way, your hand needs to be in this specific spot for the physics of the flag to work. So yeah, a lot of that sort of research would be really helpful, I think, in bringing some more people to a consensus of how we do things and why we do them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely. And my husband is a kinesiologist. He's here at UMass, so I'm definitely. His organization, which is the American College of Sports Medicine, was one of the ones I looked at to say,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, he goes to a conference every year where there's tons of research presented. Everybody's talking about, how to get better at what they do. And why don't we have something like that? So,
Yeah.
mhm.
That's awesome. That's convenient that he's
Yeah, yeah,
I always say about my nurse husband too. I'm like, oh, it's convenient. We have a nurse right here all the
yeah.
time.
I just have to
So
find him a grad student. If I could find him a grad student, a color guard grad student, that would be amazing. That would be like,
there you go.
two birds right there. Yeah.
So anybody who's planning on going to college and wants to study color guard, go to UMass and let's get this program
Right.
rolling.
Yeah, there you go. Cool.
That's awesome. Now, when you say you called up a bunch of your friends, what I didn't realize is you've got some friends in high places as far as how, like, the people you've known for a long time that are really, I mean, we're talking really involved in the color guard world, really in depth. People who've started a lot of organizations that are still around now and that are very successful, people who are working for other organizations that are really successful. And this has been really, really exciting for me because, I kind of feel like I'm coming in as this second generation sort. I'm coming in as a second generation, and I'm looking at all these people who I've kind of always thought of as celebrities. And it's like, okay, now we're going to have to work hand in hand. And how are we going to make this happen? First of all, how are we going to make this happen without me, like, fangirling into tears
Yeah.
half the time?
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but being able to bring those different generational types of thinking together, and then being able for me to bring that to the next generation, because all of my students now are Gen Z, and it's like this, it's a whole different basket with them.
Hmm.
They're so different.
Yeah. I don't, as someone who I did not march in world class, I didn't get higher than A was what the Winter Guard was. And I acquired these friends along the way, and they grew into these amazing people. Like Vincent Thomas and I taught at a camp 25, 30 years ago, yeah, I used to work for Algae, and that's where I met people. So I just kind of, and then I sort of go after people that I think are really smart and I want to learn from them, and just sort of introduce myself in that way. That's how I met you. That's how I met Courtney, and then so I agree. There's some really, really talented people here, and I think we need to connect in a way that has nothing to do with competition.
Yes.
If we could get the people, the minds that are doing these amazing things, to be able to, and maybe they do anyway in WGI. I'm really not that in
It's
tune.
it's a very different atmosphere at WGI. I mean, they do work really hard at making, especially I went to WGI Con this past year, and they do work really hard at making it very non-competitive, and everybody who's there is there for educational purposes. But at the same time, there's still that air because you know who these faces are and you've seen them, you've seen their teams. There's still kind of an air of, oh, you're the WGI world champion from last year or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the great things about what you're doing completely separate from WGI is that it has nothing to do with competition. So it's completely all about educating people and being an advocate for people and instructor training and all of that sort of stuff, free of competition, free of, oh, did you see what so-and-so is doing for their show this year? Because I mean, there's still creative talk and things like that, but
Oh, sure.
but that's not the main focus.
Yeah, no. And that world is not for me. You know, if we ever do have a competitive group at UMass, I'll be super psyched. But I will hire somebody to be the competitive one, and I'll just clean the flags, you know. That'll be my job. But
You can come work for Spintronics. I always need people cleaning stuff for me because I like to just, here you go, here's all your choreography, have fun.
yeah, great. And I love to tech, so I would be happy to do that. That's awesome. Yeah, and I think there's some of the people that are in this activity are not only just artistically amazingly talented, but like that guy who spins, who I love his moniker,
Me too.
are really digging into the like the physics of it all, or you know, some of the people, gosh, I don't know the names, but I did some observations of Carolina Crown too a couple of years ago when we were at CGIA, and I want to say Erin, but I don't know if that's correct. But just watching her tech the line, the flags, it was amazing to me how calm she was, how positive she was, how few words she actually used, and how boom. Well, I mean, at that point, of course, I think they were
They're
like
trained.
a month into it. They're trained, they're ready to go. But it was still, you could compare that to other world-class groups, other techs at world-class group, and go, well, that's a completely different way of teaching. Mm-hmm. And see how effective it is. Same thing with Boston. That guard staff is so, in tune with each other, and I guess, work together a lot with pride and such. And they just know the words to say, the smallest number of words to get the effect that they need. And it's awesome.
Absolutely. And what you're mentioning about like seeing that same staff from Boston and working with pride and so on. And I think that's kind of what we need as a whole community, is we need to be able to come together and work together the way that a guard would, so we need those guards, like we need like the pride staff to be able to hang up their pride hats and go and work with like Blessed Sack, hand in hand to push our whole organization further, rather than just like, oh, I'm going to push my little group as far as I can within the color guard community. We need to come together as a color guard community and push all of color guard together into, the world of everything, into sports and into arts and all of those sort of things. And that's something I've always been super passionate about. And that's why when you messaged me, I was like, yes, right there. Like, let's make it happen. 'Cause we need that so much. We need to be able to have that togetherness and be able to push the whole thing forward.
Yeah. And I really hope it works. I think that right after the meetings started school prep, right? So I was hoping to sort of maybe get the 501c3 happening, but the world is upside down right now. All teachers, geez, hang in there, because all of us feel, and you teach school too, we all feel like you're learning a new job, right? You have to take the thing you already know how to do, and then you have to learn 15 different platforms and how to do it smoothly so your students don't feel the stress and strain that it took you to get there, right? So
Right.
I had to put this away so that I could do that. So the one thing that I'm concerned about is when we get back into the competitive thing, um, color guard people just like you can go all year and you're just always working on something. So finding the time to do something big like that, like trying to get everybody together, these are the things that we'll work on with our committees, building the membership, building the advocacy, finding a way to do it so that it feels like a community coming together. So I think, and Courtney Mills said it, in the meeting, she's like, she's been working on this all kind of thing also for a long time. And she said,
Yep.
this is a lot of work and it's going to take a long time. And, I don't doubt her at all. But I think to take the first step was the thing.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So
and I know Courtney has put in a lot. She does the Color Guard EDU, for anybody who doesn't know. She has put in years into that to develop that Color Guard training curriculum and the whole course and everything. Like that just amazes me. And here's the thing, I never even heard about it until it was when she got together with marching arts
that's when I heard about it
roundtable, I
too.
think.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's when I heard about it. And here she had already been doing it for so long, and I had no idea until we actually talked, So that's one of those things is a lot of color guard instructors have been doing their own thing for so long in their own area, and they have just felt alone. And I think that's the big gap that this organization hopefully can fill, is to get people to realize they're not alone. There's other people out there doing the same thing. I had a conversation with, I don't know if you know Irving Lopez, Punk Rock Irving. We did our live, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. Sorry, I was on with Irving, and he's from California. He's the guy who made the Patricia meme.
Oh yes, very funny. Yes.
Yes. So we had to talk, and there was actually a point during our conversation where I almost started crying because he was kind of telling me his background and all of the things that he had been doing on social media, and he had been doing at the same time I was. He was on Vine, I was on YouTube, and we were doing all of the same things. And he was talking about his struggles, and he's talking about this, all of the things that he went through. And I was like, I just feel so validated now because I wasn't really alone, even though I felt alone all those years. There's other people, and I think if we can do that for everybody, that let them all realize we're all struggling through this together. There's other people you can talk to. There's people who have been there who you can talk to, who can give you experience. And I think that's going to just be such a big change for our whole community.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so. And I'm so glad that you asked me to do this, Jackie, because I took a turn and well, I actually have to focus on school right now. But when you asked me to do this, I said, oh no, this is a good idea to do this now because it'll give me another little bump. The challenge is, I've never started an organization before. So I know what I want it to be, but I don't necessarily know exactly what I'm supposed to do next. So, still working through that. One of the things that I'd love to do is, find a grant, to apply for a grant. If we could get a grant that would give us some seed money,
yes,
we could begin to do things with that, including finding someone to help us finish all of this legal paperwork. And, we have people who are friends and dedicated and ready to do social media, ready to do the website and things like that. We just don't have all the I's dotted and the T's crossed, which is, my hang up. I want that before we start.
Well,
yeah.
I feel almost like this is a recruiting call. If anybody out there has friends, we could use lawyers to work on some of the paperwork that we need done. We could use any sort of, teacher advocates, people who are already involved with teaching organizations like I'm trying to think of MSTA is one. There's kinds of like teaching organizations, not just band specific or color guard specific yet, but people who have experience with those kind of things and starting up those organizations would be really, really helpful. So if anybody knows anybody, follow, it's CG_educators_unite, correct?
That's right. Yes,
Okay.
that's right.
And
And
then also
so
the Facebook group.
yes, so when I started this and was just chatting with a few friends, I created a Facebook group that had a very long, complicated name, Planting a Seed for a Color Guard Education Professional Organization. But I just changed it to Color Guard Educators Unite. And it is a close group, but if you ask to join, and you're interested in doing this, we'll let you in, so that within there you can see recordings of the conversations that we've already had this summer, if you wanted to watch those, or if you want to just send a message to say, hey, I can help you with this. Let's do it.
Awesome. It's so great. I love it. I hope we can get so many people get together with this and just take it far, because this is going to be such a great hub for our community as a whole, to bring everybody together. And those people who want to be competitive can still compete and do their thing and be awesome at it. And those people who just want to learn and teach and not necessarily have to be competitive with it can do that. And it's going to be everybody helping each other the whole time, the whole way. So.
Yes. Yeah. It's all about the performers, right? We're going to educate the educators so they can help their students be the best color guard people that they can be and have the most fun with it, because what's more fun than color guard?
I don't know either, honestly. Like, that's what I love to do. So, well, thank you so much for coming on, Chris. I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. I know you're crazy busy like me, and I just appreciate you coming on here and talking about this. This has been great.
Yeah, absolutely, my pleasure. Thanks for asking me to do it, and keep poking me, Jackie, because
I will.
We're gonna get this thing done.
We are. I will just. All right. Well, you have a great night, and I will talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.